And when the night was fully come, he took his steps to the graveside of his mother, and sat beneath the cedar tree which grew above the place. And there came the shadow of a great light upon the sky, and the garden shone like a fair jewel upon the breast of earth. And Al-Mustafa cried out in the aloneness of his spirit, and he said, "Heavy laden is my soul with her own ripe fruit. Who is there would come and take and be satisfied? Is there not one who has fasted and who is kindly and generous in heart, to come and break his fast upon my first yieldings to the sun, and thus ease me of the weight of mine own abundance? My soul is running over with the wine of the ages. Is there no thirsty one to come and drink? Behold, there was a man standing at the crossroads with hands stretched forth unto the passers-by, and his hands were filled with jewels. And he called upon the passers-by, saying, Pity me, and take from me. In God's name, take out of my hands and console me. But the passers-by only looked upon him, and none took out of his hand. Would rather that he were a beggar stretching forth his hand to receive, aye, a shivering hand, and brought back empty to his bosom, than to stretch it forth full of rich gifts and find none to receive. And behold, there was also the gracious prince who raised up his silken tents between the mountain and the desert, and bade his servants to burn fire, a sign to the stranger and the wanderer, and who sent forth his slaves to watch the road, that they might fetch a guest. But the roads and the paths of the desert were unyielding, and they found no one. Would rather that prince were a man of nowhere and no when, seeking food and shelter. Would that he were the wanderer with naught but his staff and an earthen vessel. For then at nightfall would he meet with his kind, and with the poets of nowhere and no when, and share their beggary and their remembrances and their dreaming. And behold, the daughter of the great king rose from sleep and put upon her silken raiment and her pearls and rubies, and she scattered musk upon her hair and dipped her fingers in amber. Then she descended from her tower to the garden, where the dew of night found her golden sandals. And when the night is come and the angel of the night is upon the world, she would steal her steps to the river valley where her lover awaits. Would that she were a nun in a cloister, burning her heart for incense, that her heart may rise to the wind, and exhausting her spirit, a candle, for a light arising toward the greater light, together with all those who worship and those who love and are beloved. Would rather that she were a woman ancient of years, sitting in the sun and remembering who had shared her youth. And the night waxed deep, and Al-Mustafa was dark with the night, and his spirit was as a cloud unspent. And he cried again, Heavy laden is my soul with her own ripe fruit. Who now will come and eat and be fulfilled? My soul is overflowing with her wine. Who now will pour and drink and be cooled of the desert heat? Would that I were a tree flowerless and fruitless, for the pain of abundance is more bitter than barrenness, and the sorrow of the rich from whom no one will take is greater than the grief of the beggar to whom none would give. Would that I were a well, dry and parched, and men throwing stones into me, for this were better and easier to be borne than to be a source of living water when men pass by and will not drink. Would that I were a reed trodden underfoot, for that were better than to be a lyre of silvery strings in a house whose lord has no fingers and whose children are deaf. Now for 7 days and 7 nights no man came nigh the garden, and he was alone with his memories and his pain. For even those who had heard his words with love and patience had turned away to the pursuits of other days. Only Karima came with silence upon her face like a veil, and with cup and plate within her hand, drink and meat for his aloneness and his hunger. And after setting these before him, she walked her way. And Al-Mustafa came again to the company of the white poplars within the gate, and he sat looking upon the road. And after a while he beheld as it were a cloud of dust blown above the road and coming toward him. And from out of the cloud came the 9, and before them Karima guiding them. And Al-Mustafa advanced and met them upon the road, and they passed through the gate, and all was well, as though they had gone their path but an hour ago. They came in and supped with him at his frugal board, after Karima had laid upon it the bread and the fish and poured the last of the wine into the cups. And as she poured, she besought the master, saying, "Give me leave that I go into the city and fetch wine to replenish your cups, for this is spent." And he looked upon her, and in his eyes were a journey and a far country, and he said, "Nay, for it is sufficient unto the hour." And they ate and drank and were satisfied. And when it was finished, Al-Mustafa spoke in a vast voice, deep as the sea and full as the great tide under the moon. And he said, "My comrades and my road fellows, we must needs part this day. Long have we climbed the steepest mountains, and we have wrestled with the storms. We have known hunger, but we have also sat at wedding feasts. Oftentimes have we been naked, but we have also worn kingly raiment. We have indeed travelled far, but now we part. Together you shall go your way, and alone must I go mine. And though the seas and the vast land shall separate us, still we shall be companions upon our journey to the holy mountain. But before we go our severed roads, I would give unto you the harvest and the gleaning of my heart. Go you upon your way with singing, but let each song be brief, for only the songs that die young upon your lips shall live in human hearts. Tell a lovely truth in little words, but never an ugly truth in any words. Tell the maiden whose hair shines in the sun that she is the daughter of the morning. But if you shall behold the sightless, say not to him that he is one with night. Listen to the flute player as it were listening to April, but if you shall hear the critic and the fault finder speak, be deaf as your own bones and as distant as your fancy. My comrades and my beloved, upon your way you shall meet men with hoofs, give them your wings, and men with horns, give them wreaths of laurel, and men with claws, give them petals for fingers, and men with forked tongues, give them honey words. Aye, you shall meet all these and more. You shall meet the lame selling crutches, and the blind mirrors, and you shall meet the rich men begging at the gate of the temple. To the lame give your swiftness, to the blind of your vision, and see that you give of yourself to the rich beggars. They are the most needy of all, for surely no man would stretch a hand for alms, unless he be poor indeed, though of great possessions. My comrades and my friends, I charge you by our love that you be countless paths which cross one another in the desert, where the lions and the rabbits walk, and also the wolves and the sheep. And remember this of me, I teach you not giving but receiving, not denial but fulfillment, and not yielding but understanding with the smile upon the lips. I teach you not silence, but rather a song not over loud. I teach you your larger self, which contains all men. And he rose from the board and went out straightway into the garden, and walked under the shadow of the cypress trees as the day waned. And they followed him at a little distance, for their heart was heavy, and their tongue clave to the roof of their mouth. Only Karima, after she had put by the fragments, came unto him and said, Master, I would that you suffer me to prepare food against the morrow and your journey. And he looked upon her with eyes that saw other worlds than this. And he said, My sister and my beloved, it is done, even from the beginning of time. The food and the drink is ready for the morrow, even as for our yesterday and our today. I go, but if I go with a truth not yet voiced, that very truth will again seek me and gather me, though my elements be scattered throughout the silences of eternity. And again shall I come before you, that I may speak with a voice born anew out of the heart of those boundless silences. And if there be aught of beauty that I have declared not unto you, then once again shall I be called, I, even by mine own name, Al-Mustafa, and I shall give you a sign, that you may know I have come back to speak all that is lacking. For God will not suffer himself to be hidden from man, nor his word to lie covered in the abyss of the heart of man. I shall live beyond death, and I shall sing in your ears, even after the vast sea wave carries me back to the vast sea depth. I shall sit at your board, though without a body, and I shall go with you to your fields, a spirit invisible. I shall come to you at your far side, a guest unseen. Death changes nothing but the masks that cover our faces. The woodsman shall still be a woodsman, the ploughman a ploughman, and he who sang his song to the wind shall sing it also to the moving spheres. And the disciples were as still as stones, and grieved in their heart for that he had said, I go. But no man put out his hand to stay the master, nor did any follow after his footsteps. And Al-Mustafa went out from the garden of his mother, and his feet were swift and they were soundless. And in a moment, like a blown leaf in a strong wind, he was far gone from them, and they saw, as it were, a pale light moving up to the heights. And the 9 walked their way down the road, but the woman still stood in the gathering night, and she beheld how the light and the twilight were become one, and she comforted her desolation and her aloneness with his words, I go, but if I go with the truth not yet voiced, that very truth will seek me and gather me, and again shall I come. And now it was eventide, and he had reached the hills. His steps had led him to the mist, and he stood among the rocks and the white cypress trees hidden from all things. And he spoke and said, O mist, my sister, white breath not yet held in a mould, I return to you, a breath white and voiceless, a word not yet uttered. O mist, my winged sister mist, we are together now, and together we shall be till life's second day, whose dawn shall lay you, dewdrops in a garden, and me a babe upon the breast of a woman, and we shall remember. O mist, my sister, I come back, a heart listening in its depths, even as your heart, a desire throbbing and aimless, even as your desire, a thought not yet gathered, even as your thought. O mist, my sister, firstborn of my mother, my hands still hold the green seeds you bade me scatter, and my lips are sealed upon the song you bade me sing, and I bring you no fruit, and I bring you no echoes, for my hands were blind and my lips unyielding. O mist, my sister, much did I love the world, and the world loved me, for all my smiles were upon her lips, and all her tears were in my eyes. Yet there was between us a gulf of silence which she would not abridge, and I could not overstep. O mist, my sister, my deathless sister mist, I sang the ancient songs unto my little children, and they listened, and there was wondering upon their face. But tomorrow perchance they will forget the song, and I know not to whom the wind will carry the song. And though it was not mine own, yet it came to my heart and dwelt for a moment upon my lips. O mist, my sister, though all this came to pass, I am at peace. It was enough to sing to those already born, and though the singing is indeed not mine, yet it is of my heart's deepest desire. O mist, my sister mist, I am one with you now. No longer am I a self. The walls have fallen and the chains have broken. I rise to you a mist, and together we shall float upon the sea until life's second day, when dawn shall lay you, dewdrops in a garden, and me, a babe upon the breast of a woman.